Coach's Corner segment here on Hawks Sports Talk. This edition will replace Jennifer Rosati with the first-year assistant coach and Sarah Eichler. And you didn't get to hear the segue, but talk about cheese. And you talk about the fact that you own a cheese store, or being from Wisconsin, that you know everything about cheese. So is this true that you own a cheese store, and do you know everything about cheese?
I think it's like a law that everyone in Wisconsin has to have stock in some sort of cheese sales. So I'm sure that I own part of one at some point in my life, but not currently. I don't own my own cheese store, no.
All right. Well, I did have cheese from Wisconsin, and it does taste completely different than any other cheese.
It's delicious.
It is delicious. It is delicious. You're from Grafton, Wisconsin. Before we get into the fact that you're an assistant coach here and your story here, standout player at Green Bay, Wisconsin. You won 4 Horizon League championships, which is an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. So you have a great record and resume coming on in. Just talk about your experience playing at the University of Wisconsin Green Bay, and the fact that you put a thumping on the Hartford Hawks down in Mexico, and just playing for a good team that you got to go to the NCAA tournament 4 years in a row.
Yeah, I mean, obviously being a part of a winning program is what any athlete hopes for when they sign their letter of intent. You know, anyone who's a competitor wants to win a lot of games, and I was blessed enough to be able to do that. And we try not to bring up the whole Cancun Hartford thing too often, unless Coach Riz is in a joking mood and she brings it up, and then I'll talk about it.
Very true.
Other than that, we just kind of try to let that one lay to rest. But playing at Green Bay was something that was really special. For NCAA tournaments is something that not every athlete gets to do either. So being a part of that was something that I'll never forget.
You were a 1,000-point scorer at Green Bay as well. The one time that we got to see you in Mexico, the team pretty much was stacked. And I think you've kind of joked around about it, on our travels here, that the team was very serious and you guys just pretty much played basketball, slept basketball. With that mindset, did that allow for this success?
I think so, in a way. I mean, you're in Green Bay, Wisconsin, so there's not really a whole lot to do outside of playing basketball. So luckily, we were all kind of there for the same reasons. And so when we were bored, we'd play basketball. And when we were bored, we would hang out with each other. And there was a lot of boredom and a lot of hanging out and a lot of card playing that turned competitive, and a lot of basketball-related things that happened. And unfortunately for Hartford, they got a team that had been. We had a lot of time to mesh because we didn't graduate very many people that year, and so it was pretty much the same team that came back for that 2010 season, and it ended up being the best team that I was on while I was there. We made it to the Sweet 16 with that team. So for the fact that Hartford was struggling a little bit and we were playing probably our best basketball that year, it definitely wasn't. It wasn't really a good situation for.
It was just wrong timing.
Yeah, bad timing.
We're here on Hawks Sports Talk with the first-year assistant coach and Sarah Eichler. Upon graduation from Green Bay, you did what a lot of students would do, and you traveled, and you happen to play basketball professionally overseas, and you have a backpack marking every country that you've been to. That had to be pretty cool, knowing the fact that you're doing something that you love, that you succeeded at, and also doing something that any college person, whether you're an athlete or not, dreams of.
Yeah.
Take us through that experience.
Yeah. Obviously, the backpack is a thing that I did. I collected a patch from each country that I visited, and I put it on a black backpack. It was just kind of this thing that I did on a whim that I thought was really cool because when I played over in China, we had exchanged gifts with each team before the games, and the team from Australia gave us a pin. And I thought that was really cool. So I put those on my backpack for a while, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then they started falling off. So I decided to go with something a little more permanent with the patches that I have sewn onto my backpack. But you'd be amazed at how good of a conversation starter that is. Like random people at the airport just, have you been to all of those countries before? I'm like, well, yeah. So just taking advantage fully of being overseas, and that, that flight over, it's 8 hours, but once you're there, everything is so close. And being able to be in a club that allowed me to push back my plane ticket home so I could travel first before I went home was also really cool. So definitely a life experience that I won't forget and something that I can hold on to forever.
So you had a nice transition from great college career, a great professional career, and traveling, and then all of a sudden you get a phone call. There's an assistant coach position open at the University of Hartford, and the first thing you reflect on, we beat that team in Mexico. And hopefully you didn't bring it up in the interview, probably not, but the fact that you get a job here and your first coaching job, it's got to be a little bit of a whirlwind and a small world reality check.
Definitely. I mean, the whole experience for how this job came about and everything that happened was just so random. It was almost creepy how well it worked out, and a little bit strange how small the world felt as soon as I got here, knowing that you have the new athletic director who his mom was the director of the conference that I played in college, and you're leaving the AD's office saying, all right, well, tell your mom I say hello on your interview. So it was one of those crazy experiences, but it's been awesome. It's definitely been a whirlwind and an adjustment for me, but obviously being around the game that I love, it's something that I don't take for granted. That's for sure.
I had asked Keoka Maras-Garrick this question. I'll ask you the same question, but you were a player, you played professionally, and then now you're a coach. Take us back to that first interaction where you had to, I guess, not discipline, but critique one of the students, and the age gap isn't that far off, but was it awkward for you when you first did it?
I wouldn't say it was awkward because I kind of had the same kind of interactions with my teammates. I didn't learn until after we graduated that they may not have liked that so much, but, it is what it is as far as knowing what you want, and when you don't see it, you just kind of naturally step into that and, correct them and tell them what you would like them to do. The girls thought I was a little strange because of the things that I would get upset about, such as jump stopping and passing with your left hand and all those really teeny tiny details that they're like, really? That's what's making you mad right now? Well, yeah, because that was kind of the program that I came from. But it's a different perspective, which I think is good, just coming in and having something that is completely different. I mean, just like Darby said, my college system was totally different than what I'm doing here. So there's quite a learning curve. There's a lot of things that I still haven't learned and that I can't wait to learn. So it took me a little bit to get comfortable enough with the girls and with the system to be able to correct people, but that was something that was easy for me.
We're here with the first-year assistant coach and Sarah Eichler here on Hawks Sports Talk. Before we let you go, now traveling with the team, it seems like you're in that role of motivation prior to the game and in the pregame and in the huddle and getting the girls prepared for the big game at hand. Do you find yourself being a motivational speaker, or is that just part of your repertoire? Like, what is it about that where it seems like when you're out there getting ready for the game, like you're enjoying yourself as well, even though the fact that you're not going to play at all?
Yeah, I mean, part of that kind of comes naturally with the system that I played in, and being a competitor and being an athlete myself. It's just like, you go out there and you're so excited to play. Like, people ask me if I'm ready for the game tonight. I'm like, I'm always ready. I'm always ready to, I wish I could play, so you have to get rid of that energy somehow. And I've kind of taken on the role of being that encourager and being someone who can bring a lot of energy to the situation. Just because, like I said, learning the new system, I don't know how to nitpick very well with what they're doing other than my minor details that I love to obsess about. But other than that, I try to get them fired up. I try to get them excited to play. I try to bring some sort of energy just because I think that's a huge part of playing and playing well and playing together. So I've kind of slid into that role until I can learn the system a little better to nitpick about other things. And even still, I would like to maintain that as part of something that I do, bring energy every day and just be excited to be where I am and what I'm doing. So.
Well, I've noticed that you motivate me too.
Well, thanks.
Getting ready for the radio broadcast. We appreciate the time for stopping by.
Of course. Thanks.